The Mothman, urban legend. In the quiet town of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, nestled deep within the forests and surrounded by abandoned coal mines, life seems peaceful. It's a place where time slows down and the hustle of modern life feels a world away. But in the late 1960s, something sinister began to emerge from the shadows, something that would change this small town forever. It was November of 1966, when two young couples decided to take a late-night drive near an abandoned TNT factory. As they passed through the dark, desolate roads, something strange caught their eye. A massive creature, rising from the ground. It had glowing red eyes and enormous wings that stretched far beyond what any bird should have. Panic set in, and as they sped away, the creature followed them, its ominous presence chasing them through the night. The creature that came to be known as the Mothman was unlike anything anyone had ever seen. Described by witnesses as a man-sized figure, it stood tall, its body cloaked in darkness. But it wasn't the body alone that struck fear into the hearts of those who encountered it. It was its wings. Huge bat-like wings that beat silently through the air, casting a shadow over the land. And then there were the eyes. Glowing red, they seemed to burn with an unnatural light, piercing through the darkness like fiery beacons. Some who saw the creature said it had a face that resembled a man. Others described it as more monstrous, with sharp features and an expression that seemed to exude malevolent intent. But what everyone agreed on was the overwhelming sense of dread that filled the air whenever the Mothman was near. The Mothman didn't just appear at random, it seemed to emerge from nowhere, always in places where people felt most vulnerable. Usually on the outskirts of town, near the abandoned factory, or even in the woods at night. Its movements were almost ghostly, silent and swift. The creature seemed to float through the air, casting no sound, yet its presence was impossible to ignore. For those who saw it, the feeling of unease was almost suffocating. As if the Mothman was more than just a creature, it was a warning. But a warning of what? To all the increasing sightings. The first sighting was just the beginning. Over the next few months, more and more residents of Point Pleasant began reporting strange encounters. A driver would spot the Mothman perched on the side of the road, its glowing eyes reflecting the headlights. Another would see it hovering silently above the trees, its wings stretching wide as it seemed to glide through the night air. But the most chilling sightings were those where the Mothman wasn't flying at all. He was simply standing still, watching, waiting. As the sightings grew in frequency, so did the unease. The people of Point Pleasant could no longer ignore the presence of this mysterious creature, and it seemed that wherever it went, something ominous followed. Strange occurrences began to plague the town. Electrical failures became more common, with lights flickering and power outages happening without explanation. Animal deaths too began to rise. Pets and livestock found dead in odd circumstances, with no clear cause. It was as if the very fabric of normalcy was being torn apart, and the Mothman's presence was at the center of it all. Some believed that the creature was tied to something far darker, an impending disaster. And soon, their fears would come true. The bridge collapse, 1967. On the evening of December 15, 1967, a tragedy struck Point Pleasant that would change the town and the legend of the Mothman forever. During rush hour, with the Silver Bridge filled with cars, the unthinkable happened. The bridge, a vital connection for the town, suddenly collapsed into the Ohio River below. 46 people lost their lives that day, and the town was left in shock and mourning. But as the town tried to process the horror of the collapse, something even more unsettling came to light. Witnesses began coming forward, claiming that they had seen the Mothman near the bridge just before it fell. Some said they saw him hovering above the bridge, his red eyes glowing in the dark, while others claimed he was standing at the edge, watching the scene below. This was when the legend of the Mothman truly evolved. No longer just a strange creature in the woods, the Mothman was now believed to be a harbinger of doom, a creature that appeared as a warning of impending disaster. Many began to wonder if the Mothman had been trying to signal the town, to warn them of the catastrophe that was about to unfold. Had the creature been trying to prevent the collapse? Or was it merely an omen, an eerie shadow of doom that followed the town wherever it went? The aftermath and theories. After the collapse of the Silver Bridge, the sightings of the Mothman became less frequent, but the fear and the mystery surrounding the creature didn't fade away. In Point Pleasant, people couldn't shake the belief that the creature had somehow been connected to the tragedy. The town was never the same. Residents grew paranoid, wondering if the Mothman might return to warn of another disaster. But what was the Mothman? Was it truly a supernatural being or something else? Theories began to emerge, each more bizarre than the last. Some argued that the Mothman was just a misidentified bird, perhaps a large owl or a heron that had frightened the witnesses. Others believed it was simply a man in a costume, playing tricks on the townspeople. But for many, the eerie nature of the creature, its glowing eyes, and the strange events that seemed to follow it couldn't be explained away by simple logic. And then there were the more chilling theories, the ones that suggested the Mothman was an alien, a cryptid from the depths of the unknown, or even a supernatural entity sent to warn humanity of calamities to come. But as much as people tried to rationalize the Mothman, the more questions it left behind. Was he a creature from another world, or just a shadow of our deepest fears? And what did his presence really mean? The legacy. Despite the years that have passed since the bridge collapse, the Mothman's legacy continues to loom large. Point Pleasant, once a quiet, unassuming town, has become a hotspot for thrill seekers and those captivated by the mystery. The Mothman Museum stands as a testament to the strange events of the 1960s, and each year, the Mothman Festival draws thousands of curious visitors, eager to learn more about the creature and perhaps experience its eerie presence for themselves. The Mothman has also cemented his place in pop culture. From books to documentaries to films, this urban legend has captivated the imagination of people around the world. His glowing red eyes and ominous wings have become iconic, representing not just a creature of mystery, but a symbol of the unknown. But even with all the theories, all the stories, one question still remains. Was the Mothman a warning, a creature sent to signal a coming disaster, or just a bizarre piece of folklore? Some claim to have seen him still, wandering the forests and skies around Point Pleasant. And for some, the legend is as real today as it was in 1966. So, is the Mothman truly a harbinger of doom, or is he just a part of the town's eerie past? Perhaps, like all legends, he exists somewhere between truth and myth, a creature that haunts the darkest corners of our minds. And as long as the mystery endures, we may never know for sure. What do you think? Is the Mothman simply a cryptid, or does he have a deeper connection to the strange events in Point Pleasant's history? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more chilling tales from the world of the unknown.